Everybody loves dads, stories, and the Marine Corps. What could be better than Marine Corps dads who tell stories? Here's another story with veteran storyteller John Sugar Jr., a Marine Corps dad.
Tonight, we're going to tell the story of We Three Kings and Jerry. Once upon a time, in a faraway land, in a faraway time, in the land of Persia, there was a bunch of wise men. Now, these wise men had jobs for hundreds of years, but one time they almost lost their jobs because under a really bad king named Nebuchadnezzar, they almost all died. And Nebuchadnezzar had a dream one night. And Nebuchadnezzar woke up in the morning and said, "What was that? I don't even know what that meant." And he called all his wise men. And all the wise men showed up, because that's how you call the wise men. And all the wise men said, "O King Nebuchadnezzar, what is thy bidding?" And King Nebuchadnezzar said, "You have to interpret my dream." And the wise men said, "Okay, we will interpret your dream. First, tell us what the dream was so that we can interpret it." And Nebuchadnezzar said, "No." And all the wise men said, "Huh?" And Nebuchadnezzar said, "You have to tell me the dream and interpret it." And the wise men said, "How on earth are we supposed to do that?" And Nebuchadnezzar said, "I don't know. I'm not a wise man. But if you don't do it, I'm going to kill all of you." And the wise man said, "Eh." But there was one wise man whose name was Daniel. And Daniel prayed, and God showed him what the dream was, and he showed him the interpretation. And Daniel came back, and he told Nebuchadnezzar the dream and the interpretation. Everybody was like, it was amazing. But then another kingdom took over, the kingdom of Persia. And they were a bunch of bad guys. And the king, he said, to call the wise men. And all the wise men came, and there had been writing on the wall, and holy cow, they didn't know what any of the writing meant, but they got Daniel. Daniel told them what the writing on the wall meant. And so Daniel was the best wise man of them all. And Daniel did a bunch of writing that angels from God told him to write. And they had things to do with the future. So the wise men in Persia knew a lot about what was going to happen in the future. And one day, about the year, 0, all the wise men were in the library, reading books, writing in scrolls, sharpening their pencils. And that was about as bad as it got, because in the library you're supposed to be quiet, right? So all the wise men are being super quiet. And that one guy was sharpening his pencil very slowly so it didn't make too much noise. And he's like, "I'm sorry. I just need a sharp pencil. Holy cow, it's sharp enough." No, it's not. I'd like a nice point on it. Stop it. Don't tell me what to do. And then one of them picked up a brick. And the librarian stopped him. And then there was Jerry. Now, Jerry is standing outside. Jerry is not allowed in the library. Ever since the lizard incident with the cream cheese. Jerry wasn't allowed in there. Jerry wasn't all that wise of a man. Everyone really knew why he had this job. They figured it had something to do with his family. They thought his dad was rich and just trying to get rid of him. And so Jerry is somehow a wise man. but after the lizards and cream cheese incident, was not allowed in the library anymore. So Jerry is standing outside, which is the only place he's allowed to be. And as Jerry was wont to do, he was looking up into the sky. And all the wise men were inside the library. And Jerry looked up and he started squinting. Huh? Now, what's the number one rule of a library? Be quiet.
Shut your mouth.
So all the wise men in the library are. Stop it! Don't tell me what to do. Oh my gosh! Get off my back, Balthazar! And all the wise men were like, yeah! Because Jerry had burst into the library. And he said, guys. And they said, what, Jerry? Now they were breaking the rule in the library. And Jerry said, guys, yeah, we heard that. There's a star in the sky. And all the wise men said, good job, Jerry. There's only about 40 billion of them, and we have a whole religion called Zoroastrianism that's based on reading the stars. But good job, man. You found one. And Jerry said, no, a new one. And they all said, huh? And they all walked outside. And looked up into the sky, and behold, in the sky, far off to the west, was a brand new star that had never starred before. And all the guys said, huh? And they went back into the library and they started looking up stuff. What's supposed to happen this time of year? And they started reading stuff, and they finally came across the writings of the greatest wise man, whose name was Daniel. And one of the prophecies Daniel had written had talked about the King of the Jews coming in this year. And all the wise men started checking calendars. They pulled out their phones. Doot, 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 doot. It's this year. Guys, get the camels. And they had to take Jerry with them. Because it's kind of a daycare for Jerry. They couldn't leave him at home. And he would just kind of follow them anyway. So they're like, Jerry, get on the camel. And so they duct taped him to a camel. And they said, leave the lizards alone. And Jerry said, okay. And they traveled across the desert. Many moons across the desert. And they could hear the song of the star as they traveled. And it sounded like, and that's what they heard all the time as the star sang the song of the wise men. And so the wise men followed the star until they got to Jerusalem. And they came to the king's palace and they said, hey, where is the guy that was born King of the Jews? We saw the star. Well, Jerry saw the star. We saw the star after. We knew what it meant. Jerry was just like, and drooling a little bit. But we knew what it meant. Be quiet, Jerry. Put the lizard down. And they said, so where's the King of the Jews? And Herod looks at them, and Herod is not a sane person, okay? Herod is crazy. Herod killed his own wife, okay? He kills his sons routinely. As a matter of fact, they said the best treated person in Herod's house was his dog. Because he wouldn't kill his dog. Why? His dog wasn't trying to become king. Herod killed everybody else. And Herod heard, oh, there's somebody that's going to be king of the Jews. So he went and he grabbed the Pharisees and the scribes and he asked them, hey guys, where's the Messiah supposed to be born? And they said, Bethlehem. It's right here in the book that we've known about for hundreds of years that we didn't figure out like the wise men did. And the king said, uh-huh. And he went back to the wise men and he said, why don't you guys go see if he's there? And if he is, come back and tell me so I can worship him too. And he sounded totally sincere, man. And all the wise men are like, okay, weird. And so they go on the way to Bethlehem. And what did they see? As they're on the road, they're getting on their camels. They're putting on their seatbelts. One guy is starting his in-flight movie, which is just on the hump of the camel. And he's watching it on the back of the camel in front of him. And they're getting ready to go, and one guy's starting to eat his nuts. You know how they get the little bags of nuts and stuff? And little drink orders went around. One guy wanted a Sprite, and one guy wanted an apple. Ah! Everybody was like, Jerry! What is it, Jerry? Did you see a lizard? Huh. No. And Jerry's just pointing. And they all looked up, and it was that same star. And it was singing. And they followed the star to Bethlehem, where they met the baby Jesus, and they gave Jesus his presents of gold and myrrh and frankincense, and they worshipped the baby Jesus there. And that night, they went to bed. And bedtime is a time to be quiet. Jerry comes screaming out of his tent. In one hand, he's holding a lizard. In the other, he has a half-opened bar of cream cheese, which he has been dunking the lizard's head into repeatedly. We don't know why. And the wise men are looking at the cream cheese, they're looking at the lizard, and they're looking at Jerry, and they're going, what is it now? And Jerry said, guys, angel talked to me in my dream. And the wise men said, you? Did he know you had the lizard? And they're like, okay, what did the angel say in your dream? And Jerry told them. The angel came to Jerry. We don't know why he picked Jerry. Maybe he was a good screamer and got everyone's attention. Because sometimes when you're a wise man, you can't hear anything over the sound of your own thoughts. But when you're a Jerry, you don't hear nothing. And so people can speak to you very easily. And so they heard the message of the angel, which was, don't go back to Jerusalem, because King Herod plots evil against the child. And so the wise men and Jerry went back to Persia the long way. And they kept Jerry duct taped to his camel the whole time. Now the lizard that was stuck in the cream cheese, they let him go. And they told him not to tell nobody what had happened to him. The end.
That was another story with John Sugar Jr., a Marine Corps dad. Check the show notes for links to his Patreon and website at creativegrumbles.com.